I'm not exactly sure this is going yet, but we'll get there in a second. This video is going to have a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of rambling involved because I haven't really given a whole lot of thought into how it's going to structure this video, but I think, personally at least, the best kind of videos that I produce are the ones where I have the least amount of planning involved and I kind of go off the cuff. So I'm hoping that the title of this video accurately represents what we're about to talk about because there's quite a bit to it. I recently reconnected with a friend of mine from high school. We hadn't talked in years and we started talking again. It's been really good. She's been a model for some of my photography adventures that I've had. She's been playing volleyball with me and it's been a really positive experience. Something that she did for me recently that I wasn't expecting to happen was she basically encouraged my Wanderlust. And for those of you who may not know what that is, it's basically the drive to want to go out and adventure. It's the idea that you don't want to be stagnant in your hometown, you want to go out and experience more of the world. Previously, I had some ideas of traveling, but it was never a pervasive thought that really consumed me up until now. So here's basically the problem. I recently started a new job. This new job has a mandatory minimum 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. It is not intense. It's actually a pretty easy job with pretty manageable hours. The downside is lack of flexibility. That being said, the job, frankly, pays pretty well for what I do. It's reliable, it's consistent, and I can use it and work with college just fine. There's not really a whole lot of downside. The biggest downside is with my previous job, if I wanted or needed to, I could probably get a week off and go on an adventure. I never did because I was an integral part of the store. I wanted the money and I needed the experience, so it never came up. But it was always an option. I never felt trapped in the idea that I couldn't walk away for a week or two and come back and have it not be a problem. Whereas with this current job, I'm not going to be able to do that for a long time. I had some things planned during this year for traveling that I'm not really going to be able to do now because I took the new job. So I've had to think creatively about how to solve the idea of Wanderlust. See, I want to travel throughout the entire United States. I want to visit every single state, and within that, I want to see every single capital and at least one major landmark or attraction in that state, because some states are more interesting than others. Some of them are going to have a lot more content to delve into and others won't. If you want to experience the United States in that way, I would argue, at minimum, you need about 2.5 to 3 months. If you look at 50 states, and you exclude the state you currently live in, let's say 49, that means that roughly you're spending about 100 days if you spend 2 days per state. So there's problems with that, of course. If you're going to a state like California, or a state like Texas, or New York, like the 3 main states, you're going to struggle trying to fit everything you want to do in 2 days. There's just too much going on. Excluding all the travel time, of course, there's just so much content there. They'd have to look at smaller states like Rhode Island or less interesting states like Kansas or maybe Ohio and bring those down to 1 day. And I don't really want to do that. So in order to get the full experience I'm looking for, I need to spend about 3 months, which gives me more flexibility in how much I spend in certain states. I can spend 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days in some states and 1 or 2 days in other states. But there's a lot of planning that goes into that, and I am not getting into that in this video. It'll be way too long. I haven't given it nearly enough thought. That's not the point. The point here is Wanderlust. So I am really driven right now to do this embarkment of an adventure. The primary reason is because I am given a very short time on this planet, and I don't want to be sitting in my later years, let's say mid-40s, and a really strong career making good money, and being so trapped in that I can't go out and adventure and experience life. I don't want to be so old that I'm not able to fully take advantage of the fact that I have a young body now that can go hard, not have a lot of sleep in uncomfortable positions, and exercise and hike and move around a lot during this adventure. Whereas if I wait until I retired, sure, I could drive around or fly around and have endless resources of money and whatever time I have left, but it's not the same experience. I can't just go out and skydive. I can't go hike a mountain and do that on a whim. So I'm going to take advantage of my mid-20s and use that time for traveling. There's a lot that goes into that. And again, What I think I'm going to be doing is actually revamping my website using Squarespace instead of Weebly, because Weebly is just a trash website hoster for what I want to do, especially with my photography stuff. But I think I'm going to start a blog maybe in the next month or two, kind of discussing how I'm planning this out and kind of going through the process with everybody, and have trial runs planned. And this goes into the thing in the beginning of the video where I talked about how it's going to go on tangents, because I'm not exactly sure this is going yet, but we'll get there here in a second. So Wanderlust, let's try to circle back, stay on track, Chris. I really want to experience the world. And unfortunately, it's pretty cost prohibitive and also really daunting to experience other countries. At least for me at the moment. I am not inherently an adventurous person, but it's something that I want to push myself to do. So I figure starting with the United States will be easy. There's no flights that I have to worry about. I can drive the entire thing. I get to experience a broad geography because the United States has just a lot of stuff going on in it. It still gives me the opportunity to experience different cultures, but it's just different cultures within the same country that I live in. And it'll give me a lot of experience when it comes to travel. And I'm hoping that after that experience, it'll be easier for me, while maintaining a regular job, to use PTO or long weekends to fly to a different country and spend 2 or 3 days in that country, then come back and go back to work, rather than being in the States and trying to drive to another state, only having 2 or 3 days and spending most of that time driving and not really getting the full experience. I think it's actually easier to fly to the countries than to drive the entire United States. So I'm trying to actually get the harder, more time-consuming part out of the way earlier on, so it's easier when I have hopefully more money and maybe more flexibility later in the future to be able to do that. Which means that in about 2.5 years, this channel will probably turn into a travel channel for a few months, and that'll be an interesting adventure. So I hope people stick around for that, or at least remember me 2.5 years from now and check it out and see what I'm doing. But again, besides the point. Wanderlust. It's an interesting concept. It's something that I'm very interested in exploring more. I think that the process leading up to the adventure will be a very eventful path. There's a lot that goes into figuring out what kind of gear that I need, figuring out the skills I'll need to develop, what level of fitness I'll need to have achieved at the time, and the amount of proficiency that I have in film and photography to make the adventure worth it. Because it'll mainly be a photography trip, but of course, I'd be bringing it onto YouTube, because why wouldn't I do that? Not only that, but trying to figure out the budget for it, and then also trying to figure out how much time I'm spending in each state and the routes that I'm doing and all that garbage. It's going to be intense, and I have a lot of research ahead of me that I just, at the moment at least, don't have time for because I have too many classes going on, and again, that's besides the point. Wanderlust. It's an interesting concept. I'm enamored by it. The fire of my youth is burning right now, and I'm trying to focus on the more important adult stuff now. So whenever I hit probably age 25, maybe halfway through age 25, I can really set out on that kind of adventure and really take in the moment and really appreciate living without regret for a few months and just experiencing life and really pushing to go out of my comfort zone as much as possible and just experiencing and gaining wisdom. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yes, it was a ramble. I've been actually staying better on point in past videos, but this video wasn't designed to be a well thought out, well spoken video. It's meant to just share passion and thoughts and raw emotion. If you guys enjoyed that experience, I hope you go ahead and give it a like. I certainly enjoyed doing this video. I love videos that are in this kind of vein of ad-libbing slash being like a broad speaker and going on tangents and stuff. If you want to see more, subscribe. A lot of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed. I would encourage you to do so. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later, and I do bring daily content that I hope brings some value to your lives. Do not forget to keep it casual.